Hi, everybody. So I just wanted to take a minute to talk about consent during birth. I recently just spoke with a client um, who had a pretty terrible experience at a hospital where she had high blood pressure and she was kind of forced into being induced. And she had a very long labor, long time for induction. There was a couple days where she was in labor, and then she had to push for like 4 hours. And they kept going in and checking her cervix, and she equated it very similar to what we would consider rape, and there is such thing as birth rape. Um, the problem with this is that most, not just hospitals, but people who work in the birthing industry, if they do it often, and they're in the field, um, they're kind of lumping everybody's experiences into one. Like, this is my job, this is what I'm gonna do, this is how it's supposed to go, it needs to be done on my watch. And that's not the case with birth. Every birth experience is different. Every single person should have a beautiful birth experience. I know it doesn't always work out that way, but there's easy ways to kind of aid in that. Where if you're not comfortable with something, you do have the power to say, I do not like this. I am not comfortable with this. I do not want this done. Um, and I really encourage you guys, if you're going to have a hospital birth, or even, it doesn't really matter where you give birth, but to have an advocate there for you who's going to be in your corner, because when you're in labor, your brain is going a million miles an hour and you're honing in on your own experience right now, and you're focusing on getting that baby out of your body. And so you're trying to deal with all this stuff on the outside, all this input from other people, and you really, you want to have your birth plan. It can't always go according, right? But you want to have it set so people know what it is that you want during birth. Okay, so that is whether you want vaginal, whether you want the cord clamping done, whether you want to have that skin to skin time. You don't want your baby washed. You don't want the amniotic fluid wiped off. You don't want vaccines. You don't want circumcision. Like, there's all these decisions that come right after you've just given birth, and that's such a huge thing that has just happened. And you want the experience to not be overwhelming and scary and hurt you. And that's kind of what happened to one of the clients that I just had. And I was devastated to hear that story, because she deserved a beautiful birth experience and she did not get it, and that was her first child. So that was her very first birth experience, was people pressuring her into doing things that she didn't want to do. She wanted a natural birth. She ended up not having a cesarean, but they were very pushy, telling her that she should do it. It's going to be easier. And I think it's important for us to, not just me as an encapsulator, because I really want to connect with you guys, right? Everything that you do is important to me. Your choices are important. I want to respect your decision regarding birth, because it's such a beautiful process, and it's your own. It's unique, and whatever you choose should be your decision. Of course, there are circumstances where you can't do it, where there's an emergency. That's understandable, where the plan isn't going to go accordingly. But for simple things to just go smoothly, to have an advocate in your corner, make sure that if you're not hiring a doula, which I highly do recommend, because they're going to be the person who's going to stand up to whoever is trying to force you into something that you're not comfortable with. That could be whether you're a very strong-minded individual or somebody who's more timid. It's really important to have that advocate there for you to help your process be how you want it to be. That's not to say that your partners are not going to do that for you, but they're also going through that experience with you, and they're focused on you and the new baby that's about to enter the world. And sometimes stuff just feels really overwhelming in the moment, and that side advocate can step aside and be like kind of outside the bubble, I guess, and really have them focus on what's important to you. And I want you guys to be aware that you do have the last say, almost, unless it's an emergency, that this is your birth and you should own it. You should have it done the way you want. If you want a cesarean, go with a cesarean. If you want a vaginal birth and everything else looks great and there's no emergency, have that vaginal birth. Okay, don't let anybody force you into something that you're not comfortable with. And I don't know, have some just in case scenarios or what ifs, and get them answered, not just by your healthcare provider that you're going to be giving birth at, but get a second opinion. So what if I have high blood pressure? What is the instance where I would have to be induced? Is it important for me to be induced? Can I opt to not be induced and just continue with my body's natural process? All of that, I want you guys to really take charge of your birth. I mean, it's your experience, not anybody else's, not the healthcare workers that are in that field treating every birth the same because that's what they do as a job. And I also feel like it's important for us to get the word out. Those birth professionals, because they lump every scenario, every birth scenario in one, I don't know, what's the word I'm trying to say? I don't know, just they lump it all together and they treat every birth basically the same. They want it done on their watch. They want it done at a certain time in a certain way. And they do tend to sometimes bully moms. And this is my very first client that I've had share such an intimate and horrific experience in regards to birth. And it really broke my heart. I wanted her to have a beautiful experience, and that's what she wanted, especially for a first-time mom. And I'd say it's especially important for first-time moms or first-time parents in general to have that side advocate there to make sure that things go accordingly and to make sure that your voice is heard, because sometimes you get kind of pushed out of the way because they're thinking that their way is right, and that's not always the case. In a lot of instances, you can go with your gut. Not an emergency. I want you to know that that's not what I'm saying, but to know that you have the final say in your body. You have the decisions to say, I don't want this. Please stop. Can I get somebody else? Can I get a different provider in here? Can I get a second opinion? And that's not a bad idea either, aside from making the list of what ifs, to have basically a go-to phone book, or not a phone book, but just a little, I don't know, side note of other healthcare providers that you might be able to call and just ask a quick question. Be like, again with the blood pressure thing, is this okay to do this? I really want everybody's birth experience to be how they want it to be. And that's important because it's your body, your baby, your birth experience, and it's not theirs. So, final word, have somebody in your corner. Make sure that you have a birth plan. Of course, most birth plans don't always go accordingly. They do hinder sometimes because birth is unpredictable as always. But to have it at least be in part just a beautiful experience, and it should never be, at least I'd never hope for it to be, something that you look back on and you're cringing at the thought of the things that have happened to you. So just take that with you guys. Think about it. Share this video. the more that we get this out there, maybe this will open up some of the birth providers' eyes and be like, maybe I am a little pushy when it comes to this because I want it done at this time, and maybe I can just have a little more patience in regards to these mothers that are about to give birth, because what I'm trying to do, I guess, is put it so that they're wearing the shoe on the other foot. At least I think that's how that saying goes. For them to understand, like, what would they do if they were in your shoes? Would they be comfortable with those decisions that they're making for you if they were you? So that's an important question to ask. If you are feeling uncomfortable, would you be comfortable with me doing this to you? But anyway, think about that, ladies. Share this video. I like to get the word out. Make sure everybody knows that birth is theirs and they can own it. They should own it. Take care, guys.